Well, hello everyone. It's been a while, I know. Literally coming at you from under a bridge, and a little bit of a different content, I guess, than my usual stuff, usual talking head discussions of whatever. I'm doing a little bit of field recording right now under said bridge, so I've got a little bit of a lapel mic here, just trying to hopefully get more of my voice and less of the booming thunder from above, which is what I'm actually hoping to record with the field recorder there in stereo. There's a little bit of a creak. And this is as much to say hello to everyone and let you know what my perspective is, I guess, at this mid-October-ish date, and let you know what I've been up to on my fall holidays. I kind of promised a few more videos, and I haven't published any, and that's actually because I've been spending a lot of time in the bush photographing and a lot of time introspecting and all of that, just sort of planning out the next phase of my life and dealing with some personal issues that have crept up. Nothing serious, nothing major, just a little bit of stuff, that we all go through. And so I thought I'd come today and do a little field recording under this bridge. Some of this is actually going to be just for me to remember what I'm doing here. So I started just at the entry of the bridge, just sort of over, I guess you can't see it, over there, and did some recording, sort of 96 kilohertz, 24-bit, with, I'm a little bit wider than 110 degrees with my little mics. I'm trying to obviously capture a pretty wide stereo effect. I did preview it with the headphones and it sounds pretty good. Then I moved in to where I am now, which I'm standing right behind a little stream that's going under. Normally it's a pretty big creek, but it's been very dry this year, so it's a tiny babbling, nothing compared to its usual, spring rage, let's say. And so I've moved over here so I get a little bit more of the creek sound, and I'm a little bit more just getting the sound that's transmitting through the concrete above me. Again, 96 kilohertz, 24-bit, but then I also switched to a 32-bit floating point and up the gain on the microphones just to do some testing for myself. I hear a lot of people talk, when they talk of field recordings, they'll talk about 32-bit floating point is very difficult to process and you need a lot of processing power, and a lot of people can't do it. Luckily, I discovered on this Zoom F6 that I'm using, it actually has a dual mode where it will record the 24-bit and 32-bit simultaneously. So that's what I'm hoping to do. There's a dog coming down to the side of the creek. That's why I was looking over. I'm hoping to use a dual recording format and try again, and then I get the best of both worlds. Something that's maybe a little easier to process, but perhaps doesn't have the headroom, and then the 32-bit floating point for potential future use. The idea behind these is similar to the photography and the music stuff I've probably referenced in previous videos. My goal is to move to the arts over time. Once I retire from full-time work as an automotive mechanic, I'd like to spend my time in photography and writing and music. The field recordings will form, I think, part of that musical interest for me. Not only very discreet recordings of, a creaking sign or a slamming door or sticks and rocks knocking together and all the things you sort of normally associate with field recording, but also ambience such as this, birds up in the bush, being under this bridge, different various water sounds. I like the idea of substituting a synthesized white noise with a very natural white noise of highly rushing water. And of course, if you listen to water in various different streams and creeks and rivers, raging torrents, there's quite a distinction. It's kind of like the idea that the Inuit have all these different words for snow. It's very similar, I think, if you really start to tune into it. So that's some of the other stuff that I want to engage in with this. Some of that work needs high gain, which is why I'm testing the 32-bit floating point. I mean, here it's sort of a dynamic range issue, I guess, because I've been here for a little while, and when there's no cars, it's pretty quiet, actually. Got a little bit of a babbling brook, and I'm getting like two tiny little green bars illuminating on my level meters. But if a big rig goes by, especially if I'm listening to it on the 24-bit setting, I almost peg the level meters. And so it's very difficult to adjust that gain where you're not losing, the stuff that's harder to pick up or clipping, the big rigs that go by. So hopefully this has been of some interest to anybody. If any of you have any interests in photography, particularly woodland, but I'm interested in any kind of photography, even videography, certainly field recordings and that sort of thing, and naturally music. I am predominantly a keyboard player, not very proficient because I haven't kept it up. I can play somewhat by ear, and I like sound exploration, sound creation, and I have a fair amount of modular gear as well that I toy around with. So I'd be interested to hear what you do, if there's any actual artists, and writing, of course, as well. That's probably the thing I think I might be best at, but the thing I feel the most mysterious about, because I find photography draws me in, the scene draws me in. Music, it only takes me a moment or two sitting down and I can compose a melody, especially if I'm listening to a timbre that's really pleasing to my ears. I like a lot of soundscape type things. And interesting percussive elements, it's easy for me to do. Writing is a little more difficult, aside from maybe responding to angry, flaming comment threads online. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.